This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Well, hello, Deborah Johnson here with you today. Always good to be back with you. I love being able to introduce some topics that maybe you've heard a little bit different twist on, and today is one of those with the 80-20 rule or the Pareto Principle and your business plan. And hopefully you'll gain some things from what we are covering today. A little reminder, I have a couple books that you might want to be able to check out. The Women at Halftime book is, Amazon has been running a nice little special on that. So make sure you look that up. It's a great book talking about your journey to Hero Mountain. Also, I do have a new book available for pre-order very soon, the Summit. So I'm very, very excited about that. And it'll be available for pre-order. The official total release date is October 12th. So that is coming up. You're going to want to check that out. It is it's an allegory, which is a story. And I think you will really enjoy about that journey also to Hero Mountain. So today's subject is the 80-20 rule or Pareto Principle and your business plan. And most people have heard of the Pareto Principle, but if you haven't, I'm going to give you a little bit of that background on the Pareto Principle, which is that 80-20 rule. And it applies to so many things in our lives, but it also applies in our businesses. And the Pareto Principle states that for many results, approximately 80% of the outcomes, they come from 20% of the origin or the project. The Romanian-born American engineer, Joseph Juran, he lived from 1904 to 2008. He developed this concept, and he named it after the Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto, and he lived 1848 to 1923. And Pareto had noticed that 80% of the wealth of Italy, because he was Italian, of Italy belonged to about 20% of the population. And we can see the same financial distribution pretty much in the United States. And if you click on the article, I do have some of those resources for you. And many will try to manipulate those numbers and this equality of wealth and with equal distribution. But history has proven that the 20% still floats to the top, whether in wealth or in other areas. And I find that's very, very, very interesting because we can try to manipulate that in a lot of areas of life as well, in our personal lives or in our organizations that we are in. Churches, they find the top 20, there are 20% of the congregations that usually do 80% of the giving. And this is just kind of a phenomenon, a little fact that happens. And so we're going to take a little time to do a little analyzation on that today. And I think you will find that interesting. Also, if you are clicking in, you can always see the video of this. So make sure on YouTube, there's multiple formats for our podcasts now, but make sure you also click in on the article, because I do quote some of those sources and I give you some of those links actually in the article, and there's a free download for this week as well. So as we just spoke, the organizations, they find that 20% is the 80% of the organization. So here I'm going to focus on 5 areas that will help you use the Pareto Principle more effectively in relation to your business plan and your life. Hopefully it will help you. And I hope it will enhance the results of your plans and goals as you understand how the principle can work for you. And if you see if you've clicked on the article or you've clicked on the video, you'll be able to see the graphic on this. But I have 3 little areas of this on I've outlined the fun, the impact, and of course, the profitability of it. So we're going to look at all of those areas because when I talk about my core common denominator, we talk about that fun factor as well and how important that is in your business, as well as the profitability of your business and the impact, because many people are at a point in their life where they want to create more impact. So we'll look at all of these things in relation to your life and to your business. So principle number one that we're going to talk about is to identify all the areas of your business. And I've talked about this before. There's much talk about creating those multiple streams of your income. And the importance of this was amplified with a huge shutdown that stopped travel and much of the world's work. And many people that were just relying on those gigs or travel or live engagements, they were in a bind. So to identify your areas, there are several free downloads, and you can see that article. Also, The Hybrid World, Diversify Your Income. I have a free article there. But take time to identify all of those areas of your business. And this is on your free, absolutely little free download that I include this week as well. You don't even have to sign any email. You can just download it. And you may have a side business that you've termed more of a hobby. And it's fine and it's healthy to include that side business in the mix, especially if it generates any income at all. But it's most important to be realistic with any area that's taking up your time, your most valuable resource, even though it may be small. And many successful businesses, they started as these small little side businesses. And entire podcasts, books, and shows, they're built around the interviews that document those journeys. And I love listening to those episodes. And I do have a free download, free side business template. Make sure you get that as well. And you can find that link, of course, in the article as well. The popular home improvement hub, Houzz, Houzz, that home design and home improvement business, it was founded in 2009 by a husband and wife team. They were struggling with their own home improvement project. And the small website they just created to solicit input and contractors, it surprised them because it turned into this international presence. And they found that pictures sell. How about that? Similar to the story of Instagram. Instagram started as this app called Foursquare, but it didn't go anywhere until the founders changed the name to Instagram. So a huge key for the growth, it came from the focus on that mobile photography and a fact that was able to help many as they saw the potential of what they could create. When you see a picture, oh, I want that for my house. And the photographs actually helped us with our own home design. We had this dilemma in our living room. We have a custom home and the back is mostly windows, and it was built in the 1950s. But it has many varying angles of design in our living area. And putting new tile in, it was a huge puzzle. We couldn't figure out the angles until we saw a photo on Houzz that it helped us craft the flooring and a herringbone pattern. And seeing those photos, it made all the difference in successfully finishing our room. Though we still spent a lot of time like laying out the pattern in multiple ways, and it was large pieces of tile, and it was some work, but at least it gave us that idea. So anything that can help people accomplish their goals is a wonderful resource. And the photography element, which at first it had just played that small little part of their business, and it was fun, but it ultimately that came to the top. That came to that top 20% to help generate billions of income for Houzz. So again, that is an area that was one of the fun little areas for Houzz, but it ended up generating the type of income that to where they are today, and especially with like the photography element. So that was the principle number one, is to identify all of those areas of your business. And I even say the little hobbies or the little parts that maybe you think aren't important, just because of that little photography element, maybe they didn't think that was going to take off, but it did. And number two, then you want to spend time evaluating each area. And this is important because you want to look at the data. Evaluate each area you've identified with the percentage of income generated, but also you want to identify other areas like the fun factor, the percentage of time it takes to generate that income, and also the impact. So that's what your little chart will do. So to remind, if you're watching the video, you can see the chart right here on the video. But if you're clicking in on the article, of course, you can see it. That free download right there to get that for you as well. But you want to look at all of those little areas and realistically what's happening, and to be honest with this, and to realistic, because you want to see where things are connecting. I think that's the fun part. But you want to determine where most of the income is coming in, as well as how you are spending your time and where your energy is going. And this applies to a solopreneur or to a small business, especially because it's easy to spend that extra time on areas that you want to just pump up. But now is the time to evaluate. It's very important, more important than ever. What's generating the most income or business or traffic? And be realistic. Make it fun, but be realistic about what's really, really happening. It's very, very important, especially for the artist types. And also evaluate what's bringing you the most enjoyment. We're humans, and we gravitate toward what's not only the fun, but the easy. I'm presently reading this book, Tiny Habits, and it's a great resource for research on this principle. And if we want to change a habit or add a healthy little routine, the author encourages us to attach to what you're already doing, but also to evaluate the enjoyment and the ease of the new routine that you're creating. That's a key, because when I go to clean my office, it's not always that enjoyable. But if I can do little tiny little bits at a time, and add that little fun factor, as you can see on our little chart, that little fun factor, it becomes so much more meaningful for me. And I know I'm going to end up getting so much more done because I have some order around me. So, and in my business, the Women at Halftime podcast, what I'm doing now, this brings me a great amount of enjoyment. I love producing it. I love writing the articles for it. And I love booking in guests. So I've started devoting more time to adding the video element. It's a lot more work, and other elements for others to quickly access, because it's an area of my business. It's not generating a ton of revenue right now, but it's very important to get the message out and the impact out. And I believe that at halftime or mid-career or the second half of life, it should be filled with times of great enjoyment. And most of our society, we will continue to work, either because most need to work, they need to generate income, but also because they feel called to a specific mission or a purpose. And it's the reason I've included that fun enjoyment aspect, even in the core common denominator principle. And that's aimed toward those at mid-career or the halftime of life. And that's covered more in that Women at Halftime book that I even announced at the beginning. And also see the free download with that. You can get the free introduction to that. So if you're enjoying what you're doing, it can negate some of the hit of what is less profitable, right? I mean, if you're really enjoying it, it kind of offsets that a little bit. And there will be certain projects also that will provide more help for people, though they may not be as profitable as other areas in your business, at least at this point. But if you're committed to providing that significance and not just the success, profitability is not always the end game. I mean, that significance focuses on others, and success so much focuses on us. And a strong mission and purpose, that becomes even most important. So we have our two our two principles already, which are, of course, to identify the areas of your business and then to kind of evaluate those areas of your business that you can realistically see what's happening in each. And that little chart that I provided will really, really help you with that evaluation. That's a really important part of all of this. And then we get to number 3, is to simplify by cutting back. And cutting back is hard. It's just hard. We have some fruit trees on our property. I'm a farm girl, love it. But they're a good reminder of how important it is to cut back. If you let too many sucker branches and small shoots grow on a tree, the tree doesn't have room to grow correctly. And another problem is that those smaller and those weaker branches, they may have fruit on them, but they will experience difficulty to even hold the fruit on the branch. It's heavy, especially if the fruit is very large. And in your business works the same way. If you try to load up too many orders on a system that's not able to handle the orders, you will have dissatisfied customers, and most likely you'll have no repeat business from them. So the same principle that happens with the non-essential tasks that are time suckers. And those are like those sucker branches, checking emails multiple times every day or scrolling and reading those social media posts. They're distracting and they take you away from really what's most important. And that's why I'm big on timers and even setting that and just setting your own little limits. And it's not to say that you eliminate, either a side business or a project you enjoy, but you want to give focus to the most important aspects that will generate that growth, either in impact or in revenue even. Now, this past season, getting back to our trees, we trimmed back the peach trees on our property. In fact, I do a lot of trimming. I love that, but not enough. And when the fruit came in, which is coming in right now, some of the branches, I've needed to prop them up because without help, the fruit would rot on the ground or the whole branch could even break off. It's really heavy. So next year, even though it's hard, it will take even more aggressive pruning. It feels harsh when you're doing that. It really does. It feels harsh, but it's very, very important to prune back. So that was our focus number 3. And now number 4 is to focus on what's working. This is a hard one too, because it's that simplification. And if you take a realistic look at what's working the best for you, a smart move is to pour more energy, more resources and time in that area. But it doesn't necessarily mean to eliminate another area. But it's the allocation of time and energy for what's already working. And the temptation, and this is especially hard for artist types, I'm an artist type, is to pour extra time and resources on projects or areas that may have very little chance of generating a return on investment or impact. It's like, oh, I just love that song, or I love that album, or I love that project. And these projects can easily become a bottomless pit, and they will take up more time and too much time and money. But they're difficult to let those projects go emotionally. It's very, very, very difficult. And another principle you can apply to save that time and energy is to streamline a process for those, maybe some of those projects or areas that won't be generating as much ROI, at least right away, but you believe in them. So I have an example for this is to create maybe some email lists for updates on products, such as a new recording or a new book or video, so you can kind of double dip on your contacts. And to send those periodic messages to this list, it costs very little of your time and of your effort. And everything can be automated. And you can also create simple ads and test those outcomes for very, very little risk. So again, on those areas, you can still keep those going, but spend very little time on them. But actually just see what's working. See if that photography like house was working. So your time is one of your most valuable efforts or assets. Okay, you can see that article on life goals, but its most valuable asset is your time. And organizing how you spend it, it can free you up so much emotionally, financially, and physically by just creating space to spend more time with what's more important and most important and necessary. So you've done a little bit of this evaluation here, but I want to review these steps again, because now we've gone through 4 steps. And number 1 is to identify all of your areas of business, and then number 2, of course, is to evaluate each area. And number 3, simplify by cutting back. Very difficult again, because when I was cutting that peach tree, I felt like I was cutting so much. But as I look at that peach tree right now, it's like, oh, I did not trim back enough. It grows, things grow. And that's exciting. Actually, that's a very, very encouraging principle, because things will grow if we trim back right and we do it right. They will grow. There's hope there. We all need hope. And number 4 is to, yes, focus on what is working. This is especially difficult. I will capitalize that for artist types, but to really focus, because we also want to focus on the creative. We want to focus on what we've done, and want to focus on all of those songs that maybe are not out there yet. They will be eventually. But now we're going to get to number 5, is reevaluate your plan and your process. Very, very important. And just as writing is rewriting with creating a book, a song, or most any project, you should take the time to reevaluate your plan and process. Now, this was especially recently relevant to me when writing my book, The Summit, as I worked through many, many rewrites, and I hired on a couple of editors. And there's times that you just want to be done. But a project that is well done, it takes focus, time, and evaluation and re-evaluation, not to just leave it just because, oh, it's good enough. Well, you have to do it eventually that way, but not to just leave it too early. And we live in a world that wants most projects and our jobs done by yesterday. So the ongoing evaluation, it continues through those times that maybe you gain personnel, you land a booking agent. Many people think by landing an agent, then the work, they're going to do the work for me. Oh no, you got to work with those agents. Or take on a partner. The commitment to consistent evaluation and communication is part of good management. And it's especially relevant when taking on virtual assistants. And I hear of many who want and need the help, but they may not realize how much time a VA takes to manage, at certain ones at least. But I've held up hiring at times because of this. It takes time to manage well to make sure you're going to get the optimal work, and they want to feel good about their work as well. So as you reevaluate your life and your business, you'll notice areas that need tweaked. And if you take care of it bit by bit, it won't be nearly as overwhelming. I promise you. So the same thing has happened in cleaning up my office, just a little bit by bit by bit. I always bring that back because it's not my favorite thing to do. So find the top 20% in your life, whether it's profitability for what you enjoy, or even the greatest impact. This little chart will help you that you can download, and you may be really pleasantly surprised at what you find. And it might help you trim off some of those weighty branches. So next year, you can experience even more fruit. So that's what I want for you. So it has been such a pleasure being here with you today. It is a wonderful treat for me to be able to have these times with you weekly. I really appreciate you listening. You are the reason that I am here, because of listeners and because of your responses and because of just the things that we can share with you. So I really appreciate you tuning in. Next week, very, very impactful message you will want to tune in on. I have a very special guest. I have one guest come in a month that I interview. We've started to doing that on video as well. So next week we'll be on video with Laura Stack. Laura is a major speaker, very well known. And she's going to tell the story of Johnny, who was her son, and the impact of marijuana. And she has quite the story on this. She's started a whole nonprofit on this. It's especially relevant for parents and grandparents right now to see the state of what drugs can do with children, and even the marijuana and how different it is today than it was years ago. She's going to go into some of that information. And so you'll want to make sure that you tune in next week to hear that very impactful story. And I don't always do as heavy of times. I keep it kind of light too. We have a very good time, but hopefully you will gain some real principles. And with every week as well, realize that there is an article. I provide a lot of free downloads. And part of what I do is working not just for success, but significance and the impact that it can make on your life and the change on your life. So I hope you take advantage of some of those. And listen, subscribe, and please share it with your friends. Would love that for you to do that. So again, it was just such a pleasure to be here with you today for this episode. And I really look forward to being again with you next time, which will be next week. Thanks so much for joining me, Deborah Johnson.
Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.